Virgo, something is shifting, and I do not mean that in the vague, general, things are always changing kind of way that gets said. So often it has stopped meaning anything. I mean something specific. Um, Something that has a texture to it, a weight, a directionality, um, something that when I sit with your energy right now feels less like a gradual evolution and more like a hinge. The kind of moment that when you look back on it from 6 months or a year from now, you will be able to identify it as the exact point where the before ended and the after began. Those moments exist. Most people do not recognize them while they are inside them. You are being given the unusual gift of awareness, of knowing before the full evidence has arrived that you are standing at one of those hinges right now. And what swings open on the other side of it is going to change the shape of your life in ways you are not fully prepared for. Not because you are not ready, but because some things, the real ones, the ones that actually matter, cannot be fully prepared for. They can only be met. And you are about to meet something that has been a long time coming. Let me start with the word strange because I chose it deliberately and I want to explain exactly what I mean by it. Strange does not mean frightening. Strange does not mean bad or disruptive or something to brace yourself against. Strange means outside the ordinary pattern. Strange means arriving through a channel you were not watching. Strange means wearing a form you would not have predicted, coming from a direction you would not have scripted, landing in your life with a timing that logic alone cannot fully explain. Strange means the kind of thing that when you try to describe it to someone else afterwards, you find yourself saying, I know this sounds odd, but, or I cannot fully explain why, but, or something just felt different about this moment. That quality, that unmistakable quality of something that operates by slightly different rules than the ordinary mechanics of your day. That is what is coming. And the reason it feels strange when it arrives is not because it is wrong. It is because it is rare. And rare things always feel slightly unfamiliar at first, slightly outside the frame of what you have been accustomed to expecting. Give yourself permission to be surprised. Give yourself permission to receive something that does not fit neatly into the category of things you were already anticipating. Because what is coming does not fit into any category you have been holding open. It is its own thing entirely, and it is extraordinary. Now I need to talk about karma, because that is the other word at the center of this reading, and it is a word that gets used so casually, so loosely, so often stripped of its actual meaning that I want to restore it to what it actually is before we go any further. Karma is not punishment. Let me say that again because I think it matters. Karma is not punishment. It is not a cosmic system designed to make people suffer for their mistakes. It is not revenge dressed up in spiritual language. Karma is return. It is the principle that what is put out comes back. That energy in motion does not simply disappear. That every action, every choice, every intention, every moment of genuine goodness and every moment of genuine harm moves in a direction and eventually arrives somewhere. And what I am reading in your energy right now is a return, a specific, targeted precisely timed return of energy that you put out, in some cases a very long time ago, that has been traveling toward you ever since, not slowly, not passively, with the kind of momentum that builds when something has been in motion for a long time and is finally approaching its destination. That momentum is what I am feeling around you right now. That sense of something arriving with force, not violent force, the force of something that has been earned, the force of a return that is proportional to what was given. And what you gave, when I sit with the full picture of your energy, was significant in ways you may have forgotten, in ways that were never witnessed by anyone who could have confirmed their value to you in the moment. In the quiet, private, unseen choices you made to show up with integrity when no one was watching and nothing was guaranteed. That is what is coming back. All of it at once. And the word for that kind of return is instant. Not because it happened quickly, but because when it arrives completely without installments, without the slow, barely perceptible trickle that makes you question whether anything is actually shifting. As a single, undeniable, life-altering event. Let me tell you what has been accumulating, because nothing about what is coming was spontaneous. Nothing about it is arbitrary or random or the result of fortune smiling in a direction it could just as easily have not smiled. What is coming is the result of a very specific accumulation of choices you made when the easier choice was available and you chose the harder one anyway. Of moments where you could have responded with smallness and responded with something larger instead. Of times you extended something, trust or forgiveness or patience or genuine care, to situations and people that did not always deserve it and that did not always return it. Of the private moments of integrity, the ones that cost you something and produced nothing visible in return. The ones where you did the right thing and the right thing felt lonely, where you held your values in circumstances that made holding them difficult, where you chose honesty over convenience, or kindness over efficiency, or patience over the release of just being done. Every single one of those moments was registered, not by anyone watching, by the ledger that does not miss anything. And the ledger is settling right now in this window of your life with a specificity that is going to make you understand, perhaps for the first time with complete certainty, that the quiet effort was never wasted, that the unseen goodness was never invisible to the things that actually matter, that every single moment of choosing the right thing when the wrong thing was easier was being counted. And now the count is complete, and the settlement is arriving. Now, let me tell you about the strangeness of how it arrives, because this is the part that is going to catch you off guard, even though I am describing it to you right now. Even with this preparation, the form it takes is going to surprise you. It is not going to look like what you have been imagining when you imagine things getting better. It is not going to arrive through the channel you have been watching most carefully. It is not going to be triggered by the thing you thought would trigger it. It is not going to follow the logical sequence that your mind has been constructing when you think about how change comes. It is going to come sideways, from the peripheral, from a direction you were not monitoring, through a conversation you did not plan, through an encounter that in the moment seems almost too ordinary to carry what it is actually carrying, through a piece of information that reaches you through an unexpected source, through a decision that feels small in the making and reveals itself to be enormous in the consequence, through a person you did not see coming, through a moment that when it happens you will not immediately understand the full weight of, and then you will, and when you do, when the full significance of what just happened lands in your understanding, there is going to be a very particular feeling, not loud, not explosive, something quieter and deeper than that, something that settles rather than erupts, a recognition, the specific feeling of something that was always supposed to happen, finally happening, like a key turning in a lock that has been waiting for the right key for a very long time. You are going to feel it in your whole body when it arrives. Not as excitement, though excitement may follow, as rightness, as a settling of something that has been unsettled for longer than you can clearly remember. That feeling is your confirmation. When it comes, you will know. You will not need anyone to interpret it for you. You will simply know. I want to talk about the life-changing dimension of this because that phrase gets used loosely too, and I want to be precise about what I mean. Life-changing does not necessarily mean dramatic. It does not necessarily mean visible from the outside. It does not require spectacle. Some of the most genuinely life-changing moments in a person's history are invisible to everyone watching. They happen in a conversation, in a realization, in a single decision that redirects everything that follows without anyone else being aware of the magnitude of what just occurred. What is coming for you is life-changing in the truest sense, meaning it is going to alter the trajectory, not adjust it slightly, alter it. The path you have been on, the one that has been producing a particular quality of experience, a particular set of results, a particular feeling of where things are heading, that path is going to fork. And the fork that appears is going to lead somewhere genuinely different from where you have been going. Not different in a way that requires you to abandon everything you have built. Different in the way that a river changes when it finds a new channel. Same water, same essential nature, but moving now with a freedom and a momentum and a direction that the previous channel was not allowing. That is the change. That opening of a new channel, that sudden, unexpected, somehow perfectly timed appearance of a way forward that was not visible until the moment it appeared. And once you take it, once you step into that new channel, you are going to look back at where you were and understand something that was impossible to understand from inside it. How confined it was, how much of your energy was being spent navigating limitations that are about to simply no longer exist. Let me speak to something I am feeling very specifically in your energy. Something that I think is directly connected to why this particular moment is arriving now and not at some other point. You have been patient in ways that went unacknowledged, in ways that cost you more than your patience usually costs you, because the waiting this time was not passive. It was active. It required daily recommitment. The choice to keep going when keeping going produced no visible reward. The choice to maintain integrity in situations where cutting corners would have been easier and probably undetected. The choice to remain open when closing down would have been the understandable, defensible, entirely reasonable response to what you were experiencing. You stayed open. That is not a small thing. Staying open under pressure is one of the hardest things a person can do, because pressure creates the very reasonable impulse to close, to protect, to narrow the aperture of what you are willing to receive, because narrowing it means less can hurt you. You resisted that impulse. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not every day, but fundamentally, in the orientation of your energy, you stayed oriented towards something better, even when something better showed no immediate signs of arriving. And that orientation, that stubborn, unextinguished, sometimes exhausted but never fully abandoned orientation toward the possibility of more, is precisely what has kept the channel open for what is now coming through. Closed systems cannot receive new input. You stayed an open system, and the input that is now arriving is proportional to the openness you maintained through everything that tried to close you. Now I need to address the other side of the karma equation, because karma moves in both directions simultaneously. And what I am reading in your energy is not only a return of what you put out, it is also a correction of what was done to you. These are two different things, and they arrive through two different channels, but they are happening at the same time, and the convergence of them is what creates the life-changing quality of this particular moment. There is something that was taken, or someone who caused harm, or a situation that was unjust, something where the accounting was uneven, where what you gave was not matched by what you received, where the cost fell on you in ways it should not have, where you absorbed something that was not yours to carry and carried it anyway because there was no other option available to you at the time. That imbalance, that specific located imbalance between what was deserved and what was received, it is being corrected, not through drama, not through a loud, visible, public reversal of fortune that everyone can witness and acknowledge, through the quiet, precise, utterly thorough mechanism of a universe that does not lose its files. That does not misplace evidence. That does not decide that enough time has passed for an injustice to simply be absorbed and forgotten. The correction is coming through in your life as restoration, as the return of something. Energy, opportunity, peace, connection, stability that was disrupted or removed or made inaccessible by what happened, returning now in a form that matches where you are now rather than where you were then. Updated to the current version of you, more useful, more fitting, more exactly what you actually need than what you lost was. Let me describe what the aftermath of this feels like, because I want you to be prepared for the full experience of it, not just the moment of arrival, but what settles in after. After something genuinely life-changing occurs, after the strange and unexpected thing lands and the karma settles and the hinge swings open, there is a period of adjustment. Not a difficult adjustment. The adjustment of someone who has been carrying weight for a long time, suddenly putting it down. It takes a moment to recalibrate to the lightness, to stop bracing for the weight that is no longer there, to stop anticipating the familiar heaviness and find instead that the space where it lived is now occupied by something else. Something that moves differently, breathes differently, does not require the same maintenance, does not cost the same energy to sustain. In that adjustment period, in those first days and weeks after this turning point, you are going to find yourself doing something you may not have done in a very long time. Exhaling fully. Not the partial exhale of someone who is always slightly braced for what comes next. The complete one, the one that goes all the way down, the one that signals to every cell in your body that the thing you were holding yourself against is no longer coming, that the vigilance can rest, that the bracing can soften, that whatever was requiring that level of sustained tension from you has passed, and what has replaced it does not require you to be tense. It requires you to be present, open, available to what is actually happening, rather than defended against what might happen. That shift from defended to present is the internal version of the life change. And it is the one that lasts longest, the one that reshapes everything that comes after. Here is something I want to say very clearly because I think it is the most practically important thing in this entire reading. When the strange thing arrives, do not talk yourself out of it. I know that sounds simple. It is not simple because the mind that has been trained by disappointment to protect itself through skepticism is going to have a very quick and very convincing response to something that looks too good, too perfectly timed, too specifically suited to exactly what you need. It is going to generate reasons why this is probably not what it looks like, why the timing is suspicious, why something this well fitted to your particular situation cannot be trusted at face value, why the sensible response is to wait and see before allowing yourself to fully receive it. I understand that response. It has protected you before. It was built for good reasons. But in this specific moment, with this specific arrival, that protection is going to work against you because what is coming is not a setup. It is not a test that ends in disappointment. It is not too good to be true. It is exactly as good as it appears. And the version of you that receives it fully, immediately, without the protective layer of waiting to confirm before committing, is going to be able to act on it in the window where action is most effective. The version of you that holds back to protect itself might miss the window, not forever. But in the moment where moving quickly matters, pay attention, trust what you feel, move toward it. Let the strangeness of it be interesting rather than alarming. Let the unexpectedness of it be the signal that it is real rather than the reason to doubt it. The real things almost always arrive unexpectedly. That is not a warning. That is just how they come. Let me close with this, because there is one thing I want to leave sitting in you after everything else I have said. One thing that I want to be the last thing you carry out of this reading and into whatever comes next. You are not at the beginning of something. I know it might feel that way. I know that change, even welcome change, even the kind of change you have been hoping for, can feel disorienting in its early stages, can feel like starting over, can feel like the work that came before was somehow preliminary rather than foundational. But you are not starting over. You are arriving. Everything that came before, the difficulty and the waiting and the quiet effort and the unseen integrity and the patience that was harder than it looked was the journey, and what is coming now is the destination. Not a final destination, not a place where nothing more needs to happen, but a real arrival, a genuine landing on ground that is more solid and more right and more yours than the ground you have been navigating. You earned this landing. Every quiet moment of it, every unseen choice, every moment you chose integrity when no one was watching, every time you stayed open when closing was easier, every single moment of the long, private, unwitnessed work of becoming someone who deserves what is coming. You did that work. You are that person. And what is strange and life-changing and karmic and arriving right now is simply the universe catching up to who you already are. It is on its way. It is already in motion, and it is going to find you exactly where you are, open, ready, and finally, fully receiving